Compounding gets thrown around a lot when people talk about money and personal finance, and often the people using the word just assume that whomever they're talking to will know what it means. Except that not everyone knows what it means. Because let's face it, high school didn't do much to help most of us learn about real-life money management. In your own understanding, what is the compound effect, and how can it make you rich? Ready for the ride? Let's take off. If you've learned the fundamental difference between simple and compound interest in school, then the power of compounding is precisely based on that. Let's understand this point with a hypothetical example. Two persons deposit a sum of $1,000 with a local moneylender. The moneylender agrees to pay them 1% as interest each month, but gives them two options. Either they can withdraw the interest each month or put it back with the moneylender and grow their deposit. While the first investor decides to withdraw the interest each month, the second investor chooses to put the interest back with the moneylender. What happens at the end of 25 years? The first person has withdrawn the interest of $10 each month and spent it. He's still left with a deposit of $1,000 at the end of 25 years. But what about the second person who reinvested the 1% interest each month? At the end of 25 years, the second investor will be sitting on a corpus of thousands of dollars. If you're surprised how the second investor grew his wealth nearly 20-fold, it's because of the power of compounding. When you keep the money, then not just the principal, but even the accumulated interest starts to earn interest. If you're trying to make wise moves to set you up for a prosperous future, there's an easy-to-use financial tool that you can count on to help you get there. It's called compound interest. There's no secret formula for growing your wealth using compounding. It's simply a matter of saving on a regular basis and allowing time to do its work. That said, you'll want to have a financial plan in place, including a budget, so you'll know how much you can afford to put away on a weekly or monthly basis. We live in a world where most people expect instant gratification. That's why there's so many diet books claiming you'll lose 10 pounds in just 3 minutes, or get-rich-quick schemes that promise you can push a button and make thousands of dollars a day. They exist because we've been trained to want everything instantly. Why develop healthy eating and exercise habits when you can use a fad diet or just get the fat sucked out of us? Why work to build your wealth when you can become an instant millionaire buying a lottery ticket? The reason is that the instant gratification approach doesn't work 99 times out of 100, or in the case of the lottery ticket, a couple of million to one. Success is not actually about a Herculean effort over a couple of months or a year. Every overnight success story you hear fails to mention the years spent preparing for the overnight success. The basketball player who practiced every day, the business owner who worked on their idea for years, or the property investor who spent their weekends looking for deals. A miracle generally involves something that can't be explained by science, or maybe even the supernatural. Compound interest might not fit that definition of a miracle, but it's pretty darn close. Compounded interest is the interest earned on interest. Compounded interest leads to a substantial growth of your investments over time. Hence, even a smaller initial investment amount can fetch you higher wealth accumulation, provided you have a longer investment horizon of, say, 5 years. Mutual funds are designed to make the most of the power of compounding. Investors gain when the value of fund units goes up. If you invest with a long-term horizon, then the power of compounding will be unleashed to the fullest, which helps you grow your investment. This is particularly the case in mutual funds, as the returns generated in the form of capital gains are reinvested to create additional profits. Compound interest is calculated by applying an exponential growth factor to the interest rate, or rate of return you're using. Here are a few aspects to note. Firstly, we have the principal. Principal refers to the starting balance on which interest is being calculated. The term is more commonly used in the context of a loan's original balance, but can be applied to your initial investment amount as well. For example, if you decide to invest $10,000 for 5 years, that amount would be your principal for the purposes of calculating compound interest. Secondly is the rate. Rate refers to the interest rate, or expected rate of return in investing, expressed as a decimal. For calculation purposes, if you expect your investment to grow at an average of 7% per year, you would use 0.0% here. Up next is the compounding frequency. Compounding frequency refers to how frequently you're adding interest to the principal. Using the example of 7% interest, if we were to use annual compounding, you would simply add 7% to the principal once per year. On the other hand, Semi-annual compounding would involve applying half of that amount, which is 3.5% twice a year. Other common compounding frequencies include quarterly, 4 times a year, monthly, weekly, or daily. There's also a mathematical concept called continuous compounding, which constantly accumulates interest. And finally, we have time. Time is a pretty self-explanatory concept, but for the purposes of calculating compound interest, be sure to express the total time period in years. In other words, if you're investing for 30 months, be sure to use 2.5 years in the formula. The difference between compound interest and compound earnings is that compound earnings refer to the compounding effects of both interest payments and dividends, as well as the appreciation in the value of the investment itself. For example, if a stock investment paid you a 4% dividend yield and the stock itself increased in value by 5%, you'd have total earnings for the year of 9%. When these dividends and price gains compound over time, it's a form of compound earnings and not interest, since not all the gains came from payments to you. In a nutshell, when you're talking about long-term returns from stocks, ETFs, or mutual funds, it's technically called compound earnings, although it can still be calculated in the same manner if you know your expected rate of return. Compound interest is the phenomena that allows seemingly small amounts of money to grow into large amounts over time. In order to take full advantage of the power of compound interest, investments must be allowed to grow and compound for long periods. Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor of all time, has amassed a fortune exceeding $100 billion. The business he runs, Berkshire Hathaway, is one of the world's largest corporations today. This kind of success naturally has people wondering how he did it. Buffett bought his first stock when he was just 11 years old. Aside from being an investing genius, he credits time as the critical ingredient of his success. He said at Berkshire's 1999 annual meeting, "I started building this little snowball at the top of a very long hill. The trick to having a very long hill is either starting very young or living to be very old." In other words, let compound interest do the work for you. Most investors focus intensely on achieving high returns when simply putting money to work early and often is the key. If you were to invest $10,000 in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund in 1991, you'd have over $200,000 today with literally zero effort. And adding small sums of money, either monthly or annually, would significantly boost the amount you'd end up with. It's all about time in the market instead of timing the market, letting your money do the work for you. While Buffett strongly advocates against picking individual stocks, security selection might be the right course of action for those willing to put the time and effort in. For you to double, triple, quadruple, or multiply your investment, there are a few things to take care of. You must be a consistent investor. Investing with consistency is a must. Don't stop investing, especially when the stock market is falling. Instead, a falling market is the best time to increase your investments. Also, you must invest for the long term. As the saying goes, the more time your investments have to grow, the greater power of compounding it will achieve. But how long is long term? It totally depends on your investment objective. For one person, it can be 10 years. For the person who wishes to secure his retirement, it can be 30 years. So you need to analyze your goal and set your investment tenure. Ask yourself, what is the purpose you need to invest for? Is it saving for your child's education? Or saving for a new car? Both will have different tenures. Your investing tenure will be equivalent to the time horizon you need to fulfill your goal. There are more than 20 million millionaires in the United States. Because many of them capture the attention of the press or become pop culture sensations, it might seem like becoming a millionaire is impossible for everyday people. The truth is that you don't need to develop the next tech unicorn or be a celebrity to become a millionaire. In reality, most millionaires are regular people, not all of whom bring home 6- and 7-figure salaries. With a bit of common sense and discipline, you too can become a millionaire on an average income. If there's one roadblock on your way to becoming a millionaire, it's lifestyle debt. This is debt often charged to a credit card to purchase everything from vacations to a night out on the town. A reasonable amount of debt that helps us buy something of lasting value, such as an education or a home, can be a smart choice. Going into high-interest debt to buy things with no lasting value works against the goal of becoming a millionaire. Financial setbacks are inevitable. The best plans often fall short. As Mike Tyson says, while financial planning is important, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Sometimes the markets, inflation, or personal circumstances punch us in the mouth. Regardless of the specific financial goals you decide on, your focus should be to save and invest early and consistently while keeping an eye on fees. If you can avoid lifestyle debt at the same time, compound returns will take care of the rest. The power of compounding is the real magic behind every successful investor. It can make you rich in the long term, but for the power of compounding to work, you need to invest in great quality stocks and stay invested for the long term. Acting rationally and consistently while harnessing the power of compound interest over a very long period of time is what has made Buffett perhaps the most successful investor of all time. Why not harness it for yourself? Start early and think long term. That's all on our video about the power of compound effect. If you found it helpful, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more of our fantastic content. Please give us a like, share the video, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell for timely updates of our latest uploads. We value your feedback. Feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comments section below.